Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and in this video we're reviewing Supernatural Season 9, Episode 9, Holy Terror. And, they should have just called this episode Holy Crap, because, we got the big death in this episode. I mean, it was amazing, and it was so intense, and it was by far the best episode of the season so far. It's definitely going to, especially what happens at the end of the episode. This show is definitely going down a really great route, and I can't wait to see where they're going to go next, because I love this episode. Last week's episode I wasn't fond of. I thought it was all about sex and everything, and I just wasn't really into it. I really wasn't. I wasn't really into it. But this episode I was very into. I thought it was really great, and I absolutely loved it. So let's just get to the episode. So the main case that they were kind of going through was kind of to the side in this. They didn't really focus on it as much as they did the main storyline. But let's just get to the case, because that's kind of how we started it. Their case is basically that there's this church glee club there. They pull up at this biker bar. The church ladies head in, and they surprise bikers who all stand. They line up across from the ladies and tell them they shouldn't be there. One of the women says they have as much as right as they do. She pulls out a sword, and so does he. There's a fight, lots of blood, and lots of bodies. And then they walk back out, blood splattered, and hop on the bus, and they start singing again. So, it was actually kind of funny. Honestly, I laughed at that whole thing because it was actually pretty hilarious the way that all worked, because, I mean, it's a church choir and they're brutally murdering people and they're pulling them at a biker bar. It's pretty hilarious if you think about it. It's like the most unexpected place you would think that a church choir would be at. And I thought that was just really, really funny. I thought that was great. But the main thing that's going on is Dean is talking to Zeke, who tells him Sam is much improved and that it shouldn't be much longer. And Dean tells him the same thing, says he told him the same thing last week, and Zeke says it takes time. And Dean tells him to go and heal. And Ezekiel says any investigation involving angels pull him at risk, and Sam as well. And Zeke says to be discreet. And pretty much, Dean is just very worried about Sam. He knows what's going on, and Dean blames the trial. Sam just isn't quite believing it, and he asks his brother if he would lie. They pull up at this biker bar and flash their FBI badges. And their colleague is Gadrieal, who has also decided to masquerade as an FBI agent. And Dean asks why he's there, and he reminds Dean that he gave him a badge. And Sam says he shouldn't be there because he said he wanted to avoid angel troubles, and Gadrieal says he has to help if angels are slaughtering each other. So that was definitely interesting. That was interesting. But the biggest thing that this episode really got really great once Metronon arrived. Metronon's in this parking lot. He's waiting for, he's talking to Sam, slash Ezekiel, and he says he knows who he really is. Now he says, oh, don't worry, I'm not out to get you or anything, which I was happy about. I'm like, okay, we can have someone who's going to try to kill him. But no, he's not there to actually, hurt him. He's curious why Ezekiel, and he says he heard he was a good and honorable angel, and he calls him Gadrieal, and he says that's what was said about him, that what was said about him wasn't true. And Metronon says he sent Millennia locked in Heaven's dungeon, and he asks why he's hiding in a human posing as Ezekiel, and he says it's tragic. He tells him if it broke God's heart to lock him away, he reminds him that his task was once to guard the Garden of Eden. And that was definitely pretty interesting to watch. And Gadrieal asks what he wants, and Meta says he just wants to be friends. He tells him he freed him by causing all the angels to fall, and even the imprisoned ones. He says, you're welcome. Gadrieal is shocked to learn there are no angels in heaven. And Meta says his solitude in heaven is getting tedious, and he wants to rebuild heaven with a select few, non-stupid and non-thickhead like Bartholomew. So Meta invites him to join him there in the new and improved heaven. So that was definitely interesting. And then he meets up with him again, and he tells him that he could never adjust to living with humans. And he agrees they're chaotic, and Maida says they waste so much energy on emotion. And Gadrieal says Sam is a mess on the inside, and Maida says he can free him from Sam and all of them. And Gadrieal asks if Maida intends to be the leader in New Heaven, and if so, doesn't that make him the new god? Maida says that's semantics, and he doesn't want that name. He says they can call him X. Maida says the two of them could have paradise again. So that was definitely interesting. And Kevin is, there's a kid named Kevin in there, who I didn't know this character till now, but he's searching information on the spell, and Dean says not to trust what Crowley says, and Kevin says part of it looks like Metronon was specifically trying to obscure the meaning from a prophet of the Lord. And, basically, Cass tells Mira that Metronon tricked him, and that's the subplot. I'll get to that in a second. But, Sam comes in. Dean tells him there's a new angel attack. He says which church group that was led from the Glee Club. And Dean tells Kevin that the clock is ticking, basically. And, now the other thing that happens is pretty much that, Sam is gone. He doesn't know where he is. Kevin asks if he knows how often Sam wants to be wandered off. And he tells Dean Lear the other faction is Malaki. He says they tortured him, that he was able to get away. And, Gadrieal tells Maida he'll join him as second in command in the New Heaven, and Maida tells him bravo, and that he'll erase the mark against him, and will restore his reputation as one of Heaven's greatest heroes. And Maida tells him he needs to be sure of his fidelity, and Gadrieal says he has it, but Maida says he must neutralize their enemies. So this is when the episode started to get really intense, because Kevin has this spell ready. He's ready to get him out of there and everything. And Dean finds Sam. He told him he was on a beer run. And Dean asks if they can talk and take him to the storeroom. And Dean activates the sigil and tells Sam that he has to talk quick. And he tells him he died in the trials. He said he was dying in a coma. And they led an angel into his body to save him. And Sam is he's horrified about this, to know the angel is still in him. And Dean said he tricked him into inviting the angel in. And Sam gets angry. And Dean says he did what he had to do. And Dean says the angel lied and isn't who he said he was. He says that he doesn't know who is in him, and so he's got to expel him now. So Dean tells him to do it. Sam punches Dean, and then he storms out. So after this, he finds Kevin. He walks towards him. He asks if there is something off about Dean lately, and Sam tells Kevin that Dean will be fine. And he says Dean will be fine, and then he kills Kevin. He kills him. And, they killed a character named Kevin off. Am I upset? A little bit. No, not really. I think it's pretty cool the way they did this, because I absolutely love this next part. He pushes Dean against up the wall. He calls for his brother. And, Dean says, Sam, you gotta help me. And Gadrieal says, oh, there is no Sam anymore. But I played him well. So basically, all this time, Gadrieal has been posing as Sam. That was not Sam. He was all Gadrieal this whole time, which is pretty awesome to watch, how all this time it was Gadrieal. It wasn't Sam, which we kind of knew from when he was talking to Metronon. But it was definitely cool to see all this happen. And, he says he overheard them and altered the sigil to alter the spell. He says he's sorry about Kevin, but ultimately it's for the best. And he says he did what he had to do. And he sets the card Maida gave him down on Kevin's body. And Dean cries and struggles. Sam walks out. Dean is released, falls to the floor. Sam takes his backpack and the tablets and goes. Dean stares at Kevin's burnout eyes and calls his name. And he lowers his head to cry. And that was just amazing. I love this part, because now we have this whole conflict where Dean is now Gadrieal, and Ezekiel is not, I knew Ezekiel was bad, but not like this. Like, Gadrieal is just truly, truly evil, and, it's pretty awesome to see what's going to happen here. I really like this split personality thing, because, it hasn't been Sam, it's just been Gadrieal this whole time. It's going to be pretty interesting to see what's going to happen here, so I can't wait to see what's going to happen next. Now, the other thing that was going on with Cass, who is kind of similar to this, with Gadrieal. Cass is kind of Gadrieal. The other big thing we found out is actually Gadrieal, Ezekiel died a long time ago. Ezekiel he died. And Cass found out about this from a call and everything. And Cass is trying to basically just live as a human and everything. And So he's basically, he's praying and everything. He says no one may be listening, but he needs assistance. And this was kind of funny. But then he opens this door and there's this lady sheriff there who says that probably wasn't the answer he was looking for. And he says, "You're an angel." And she says, "I'm Muriel," but it didn't pick the outfit. She recognizes Cass and starts to walk away. And she said it can't be known that she spoke to him, and he begs her for a moment and a little information. And, he tells Muriel that Metronon tricked him. She asks how he knew when he prayed that he wouldn't get a fanatic, and he says he's warded and hoped he would look desperate and normal. And he tells her about Bart's blood fuel and asks who's leading the other faction, and she says Malaki. He says the Antichrist, and Muriel tells him they are all being forced to choose sides or to be tortured. Just then someone bursts into the hotel room, one of Malaki's guys. Malaki comes in, he tells him in a bonus that he has Cass as well as Muriel. Malaki says Muriel led them to him, and she's not knowingly, but Malaki adds, stupidly, Cass tells him he doesn't know money to spell, and, they go on about this, and eventually just, Cass's eyes, they glow blue. He's an angel again, and he puts his hand on Theo, and, Malaki comes back. He finds dead angels everywhere. He sees Theo's burned out shell and is horrified. And how did this happen? Well, he sucked down, Theo says anything, he cut his throat and he sucks down his grace, which was awesome to watch. So now Cass is an angel again. He's no longer a human. He's now an angel, and that's pretty awesome to find out what happened there. I thought that was really, really cool that we found out that he's an angel again, and it's definitely going to be very interesting. And as I said, the biggest part of this is that Cass tells him, Theo told him Ezekiel is dead, and he died when the angels fell. So, it has not been Ezekiel, it's been Gadrieal this whole time. It's pretty awesome to see what's going to happen here, and I cannot wait to see what's going to happen next. But this was a fantastic mid-season finale. The case was just whatever. I thought the case was funny, but really, I really love this stuff with, Sam and Dean. I really love where that's going to go. I cannot wait to see what's going to happen here. It's not Sam anymore. It's Gadrieal. There is no more Sam. And do you think that they'll be able to get Sam back? Do you think he's gone forever? What do you guys think about that? And what do you think about Cass? Do you think he's going to find out the truth about him? Do you think that since Cass is an angel again, do you think he's similar to Gadrieal? I do kind of see a similarity there, and I really like that. I like that Supernatural does that. They do a lot of those similarity things. Did you care about the case? I thought the case was okay, but I really cared about the Gadrieal stuff. And also now we have this bond between Gadrieal and Metronon. So is Metronon a good guy or a bad guy? I don't really know. And also Kevin, are you upset they killed off Kevin? I don't really know much about his character, but I do know he was a pretty liked character. So that's it for my review. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next video, which will be for Arrow. So see you then. Bye.